Hey guys, Bowserkins here for another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to improve ourselves as clickers, setting up some specific keybinds that we may have, um, some of them more mandatory than others, and how to set up our UI as well, different approaches we can take to that. I want to start out though by with the disclaimer, and that disclaimer is that I'm not encouraging people to click their spells. It's not what I'm not the point of this video. It's definitely not my overall message to the community. If you are capable of setting up your keybinds and doing it well, if you found yourself receptive to um, that kind of gameplay, then definitely do that. Because you do lose some efficiency when you're clicking, and it also makes certain aspects of the game more difficult than they need to be. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the first issue, and that is the keybinds, right? So normally, when you're clicking your abilities, you don't want to have to keybind anything. Otherwise, you would be doing that. But there are a few things that I would heavily recommend that you keybind. And the first one being your interrupt, right? So if you're playing a class that has a spell interrupt, whether it be, I think there are very few classes or specs at this point that don't have an interrupt. Most of them healing specs, but if you don't have an interrupt, um, you're in the minority for sure. So setting up a keybind for your interrupt is going to be the most important, and that's because it generally is going to require the quickest reflex time. So being able to move your mouse off of your bar to an enemy and then moving it back to your kick is something that greatly reduces your efficiency, and we want to alleviate those pinpoints as much as we possibly can. Okay, so it's important that if you're going to keep on anything, keep on your kick, and I strongly recommend that you do that. I have it keybound to F, and that's because it's pretty darn close to my movement keys. Right? Here's me keyboard turning just to trigger the people who may have an issue with that. Um, but yeah, so F is my kick. I also have my detox keybound. That's another thing that I heavily recommend that you do is have a keybind set up for any kind of dispel that you have to do, and that's because when you move your mouse over to a party frame in order to click on the person that you need to dispel, or if you're just dispelling yourself, if you have a target, if you have an enemy targeted and you hit your detox, it's just going to detox yourself, and that's the way to deal with that. But if you need to detox an ally, you would go over here, you'd click the party frame, and then you'd hit your keybind. And that will allow you to move your mouse over to the party frame very quickly while in the middle of a GCD. Let's just say you're whacking on stuff here, you're kicking butt, you're being an absolute Chad, doing your abilities, and then all of a sudden, like your buddy gets a massive curse on him that nobody else, or a disease. Let's say a disease, and you have to deal with the disease. You would move your mouse over, you would detox, and then you would move it right back over. So it would look like this, right? It would be bang, bang, and then in the middle of the GCD, click Shift S, and then I'm back to hitting stuff, right? And there's a lot of practice in being able to do that quickly, right? But as long as you put in the practice, just like anyone else would with keybinds or with the game in general, you have to practice regardless of what you're doing. Um, as long as you're practicing, then you'll be able to do something like that very quickly. I also have my heal set to a keybind. This is just 4. So if I need to heal someone at a pinch, that's fine. On my guardian druid, I don't have regrowth keybound, but that's only because I just reworked my UI. I'll have it keybound here within the next couple of hours, actually, as I kind of make tweaks to my UI and everything else in preparation for 9.2 to make myself an even better player, right? Um, and just for context, guys, so you know that I'm not giving you tips and I'm an absolute idiot. I am 2500 IO this season. I hit that IO on my Bear Druid. I'm also 2480, I think, on my Blood DK, 2470, 2480, something like that. On the Blood DK, a little less effort there. I wasn't playing the Blood DK a ton with the push group, especially on Fortified Weeks. And then I'm 2131 on this Brewmaster Monk. I don't play this guy at all with the push group, so I really just, you know, hugged 15s with this guy. Um, So yeah, that's kind of my approach to the keybinds. You can do other things. I mean, depending on what your capabilities are, you can keybind a lot more. I have some like utility stuff down here that's keybound to my numpad. That stuff's for out of combat. With the exception of my drums, which I have on num 7, I can take my mouse or I can take my hand off my mouse for a second, hit numpad 7. I would recommend that you have that on a slightly more convenient button. However, that's up to you. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of scenarios where you're going to lose some efficiency and how we're going to want to address that, right? So let's just say we're kicking butt over here again. These pesky enemies are not going to kill themselves, right? We're whooping their butts, and then all of a sudden, out of the corner of our eye, we see that our hunter's ice trap is about to fall off of this enemy here, right? So this is one situation that we potentially will run into where. Wait, did I take my blackout kick off my bar? Oh my goodness. I wonder when I did that. All right, lock your action bars, guys. Lock your action bars. There's another tip for you. Learned it live, right? If you're a clicker, always make sure your action bars are locked. I have no idea how mine got unlocked, but there we are. As a clicker, you definitely want to make sure those are not going to be moving anytime soon. All right, so we're kicking butts on this stuff here. We're smashing it, and our plan is we're going to hit this guy with a paralyze before our GCD is up so that we lose as little efficiency as possible in our action rotation. Okay? So we're just whooping butt. We go over here, we para, right? And we come back over here and we smack it, right? I didn't actually para it, but you get the point. What you want to be able to do is take your mouse off of the buttons right as you start your GCD, right? Move it over here, hit your keybind for your detox, or if you don't have it keybound, just move your mouse over here as quickly as possible to hit detox, and then you can tab target or do whatever you need to do. Again, this is another example of where if you can fit another keybind in, your CC ability is definitely nice. I have it on my numpad right next to where my mouse hand is. I have used it before, but this is an area where I can improve, right? With the monk, I generally don't play a class with a CC ability, and that's why I haven't kind of fit it in with a keybind. Um, but that again, that's an area where I can improve, right? So just keep working on that, guys, as best you can. Um, Eliminating the downtime between your one ability and the next is is huge for being able to maximize your damage as a clicker. Okay, now we're going to talk about UI because I know that this is pretty important for people, and it varies wildly from player to player who click their spells. I will say this though: you can help yourself out a ton by getting an add-on like Dominoes. It's not the only one; it's the one I use. You can use Bartender. There's a couple other out there, I'm sure. But Dominoes is the one that I use, and this allows me to move my action bars um, to a place that I find convenient. For me, I have found the most comfortable place to put my spells is kind of right below where my character is here. This allows me to keep my focus somewhat in the periphery of what's going on right above me while I'm still clicking my spells. Um, I will admit I have a bit of an advantage here if you've only started playing like a year ago and you're looking to get better at this kind of thing. A lot of this is muscle memory. The majority of my time is spent looking up here um, towards my enemies, and very seldomly am I purely focused on my actual abilities and where they're at. And that's just because, if things are popping off in front of you and spells are being flung out there, you're going to need to be able to use your spells efficiently while still keeping an eye on what the enemy is doing. And if you're not doing both of those things at the same time, you could potentially miss your kicks or high value stuns where you need to leg sweep on Brewmaster, for example. Um, so try to keep an eye on your enemies as much as possible, and we do that by keeping our spells as close to our character as we can without interrupting the natural flow of things. And that's the same for my health bars here. I use an add-on called Shadowed Unit Frames. You can get to the shortcut of that add-on by typing /SUF. And this allows us to um, basically configure every unit frame in the game. But specifically, we use it to move our player bar, our pet bar, our target, our target of target, our focus. Um, if I were to focus the target dummy, you can see here, I actually have that key bound that the focus itself. That way, when I'm targeting something, I can whack on. Actually, a better example would be here, right? So I'm targeting the Raiders target dummy, but I have this regular target dummy focused, and you can see from my plater profile, I actually have it striped here. This is to indicate that that's my focused target. When I'm whacking on this stuff normally, or if I need to go over here and target this with a para, I can immediately hit my keybind button, and I'm back to targeting my primary target. Another thing that you can do to help yourself, your clicker. Okay, so we've talked about the UI setup with the shadow unit frames, the dominoes. Um, whatever works for you is fine, but I would suggest, I've seen a couple of UIs where um, your spells are way down at the bottom. If you're using the default Blizzard UI, that's going to be the case. The issue with that is if your spells are way down at the bottom, it's really difficult to keep an eye on where your enemies are, which is generally going to be the top half of the screen, and clicking your spells on the very bottom of the screen. It's really, really difficult. So, my biggest recommendation here, guys, in terms of your UI, is to try to get one of these add ons set up to where your spells are much higher up, closer to your character, so that you can focus more on the middle of your screen rather than the bottom of it, trying to click your spells. Okay. Um, I think that's it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, please post them down below in the comment section. I'll get to all of them. Again, this is not serving the purpose of trying to convince people to start clicking their spells. Personally, I have disabilities, so I click my spells, um, because I kind of have to. I have an issue with my pinkies. If you have any kind of physical disability or whatever, hopefully this video helps you out. Again, if you have any questions, please post them down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. I am trying to get this fledgling video off the ground. We just hit 50 subscribers yesterday. Much appreciated the 50 who decided to stay here. And here's the next 50 in the new year. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.